Mic check, mic check. Somebody post in the voice chat text to see if it's working.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, who are we waiting for?
Bigfoot. Hold on a second. And you.
Oh, okay. Thanks. It's my
Bigfoot,
Biden.
come
It's
up on
my Biden
stage.
impression. I'm still working on it.
There you go. Nice. I approve.
Hey, how's it
All
going?
right.
Good. We can hear you. So let's get the show requests up on the side. Allow requests from everybody. So that's set. See what else we got here. Damien will be joining us in 20 minutes or so.
Awesome.
Hey, Soul Memes is in the audience. Hey, Soul. That's awesome. I like to see our regular longtime peeps. Guthix is there. Ghost Spines, everybody. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh man, Grogu's lawyer is here. You got to represent the kid. That's good to see.
Nice. Actually, he might be a guest. We have some lurkers that might join. Let me check them out. It's okay. Yeah, Grogu's lawyer is a lurker hanging out in the vetting cage, trying to get across the border, but hasn't met the requirements yet.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have a big, beautiful wall that people got to get through. Make sure. And we got some good memers in here tonight.
Well,
Also,
I am one of them. So
that's good. A PSA for everybody: if you haven't joined our Dark Maga on Reddit, make sure you head on over and sign up. We're almost at 1,000 members in less than a month. So that thing is rocking. Fun way to trigger the libs.
we do a little trolling.
Yep.
Uh, hey, Aronax here, my Canadian bro. It's always good seeing him.
All right. We'll give it 1 minute of silence and then we'll get started.
Hold on, I'm gonna do a speed run to get some water. Be sure to time me.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm back.
That was quick.
Told you to time me.
Yeah. Let me do one last ping and we'll get see if anybody else is here. Yes, I am pinging. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining tonight for this AMA Digital Town Hall. Tonight we welcome Mike Andriani, who's running for North Carolina's 9th District for U.S. Congress. So welcome, Mike. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Long story short, I was born in country of Panama, actually, Fort Gorgas Army Hospital. My father was a major in the Army down there when I was born there in the early 90s. And I served 8 years in the Army. I was a company commander in Special Operations Command. Went to Virginia Military Institute, graduated with a degree in history. So I know all about all this crap that these guys are trying to push, like fascism, Marxism, everything. Hasn't worked back then, and they're still trying to peddle it now. So I know all about that. So no thanks. And got a master's degree from Webster University in procurement and acquisition management, which is contracting. And my original plan was I got that degree because I was going to go do the Army Acquisition Corps. That was the plan for a couple of years, and then this COVID shot mandate BS came up, and I said, "Nah, I'm good." And now I'm running for Congress. I think that's the cliff notes of it.
Yeah. So you left the Army because of the shot mandate?
Yeah, I resigned my commission. Yeah, it was, and the Army's just becoming woke and stuff too. I mean, it was, it's this is how I looked at it, and I was actually talking with someone the other day about this, but when you're in the service, you pick up your rifle and you have it trained on those outside the U.S., right, like the foreign enemies, and every once in a while I do a shoulder check and look behind me, and I did not like what was going on behind me here in the States. And I just didn't want to do a full career in the military and then put down my rifle, turn around, and go home. And the country is not the same one that I, was willing to put my life down for. I don't want to turn around and just turn into a communist cesspool. And the battle isn't really overseas anymore like it was half a century ago during the Cold War. It's the battle's really at here. It's right here at home. And I said enough is enough. And that's why I'm focusing my efforts inwards now instead of outwards.
That's very noble. So, Mike, I know that you've been a member of our server for a while. Can you tell us how you found out about the server?
Yeah, so about that. So I've been a member of the Look Ahead America Discord server for I'd say about a year now. And I remember one day when I was in the server, the LAA server, I saw an announcement of an event going on in this server, the Save America server, which at that time I knew about President Trump's Save America pack, but I didn't realize that there was a Discord server. And so I said, "Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know there were two conservative Discord servers. Maybe there's more, but I only know of this one and LAA." And so what happened was I went to go see about joining this server. And what I found was that you either had to have this was a year ago, so I don't know if it's the requirements to join have changed since then. But I remember last year you had to have a active Reddit account or a Twitter, which I didn't have a Reddit account, and I didn't really have much of a Twitter account back then. And so, but we were able to get me in because my activity in the LAA server was well documented back then and even more well documented now. And because of how active I was in the LAA server and all the things I've said, that's how I was able to join the server.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't realize.
Thanks to Damien. So
Yeah, Damien's on his way, by the way. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, it's great that we've been able to cross pollinate each other's servers. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that that's happened. In fact, I let in one guy just now from there. So almost the exact same way. So we still do that. Any history, any MAGA or America First, pro America history, anywhere on social media gets you in. So it's not that
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, for sure. Great. Well, I was really excited when I learned one of our own, because I view you as one of our own. You've been pretty active in the server and
Been around
have
for
been,
almost a year. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you decided to run for Congress, and you're not the first one out of our server who's decided to run for political office. Another person from North Carolina has decided to run for I think, a House seat in North Carolina. So it's something, must be something in the water there in North Carolina. So
Yep, I'm
let's
the number 2 candidate now from the server, and I promise, unlike number 2, I'm not crap. So I'm good to go.
exactly nice. So tell us a little bit about North Carolina for those of us not there. What makes North Carolina great for you or for anybody who wants to live there, that type of stuff.
So I lived here for a couple years now. I guess the way I could put it is I've had 4 homes. My first home was when I lived in Panama, because obviously I was born there, and then I lived there for a couple years as a toddler, and then I moved to Northern Virginia, Alexandria specifically, and I lived there for most of my life, 20 years.
Mm.
And I went to college in Virginia as well. And then my first assignment in the Army, I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So I was in Lawton, Oklahoma, and I was there for a couple years. So that was my third home. And then my fourth home was when I was assigned here to Fort Bragg in North Carolina. But North Carolina's, North Carolina's been a good state. I've been here for a couple years now, and I figured with me not being in the Army anymore, it was time for me to give back to the state that has been my most recent home for the past couple years, and so I thought the best way to do that was through Congress. But North Carolina is the first state in freedom. They were the first state to ratify the Constitution. And yeah, I think there really is something in the water in North Carolina because we all know about Madison Cawthorn, who he was actually kind of the inspiration. He was kind of the guy who gave me the idea to run for Congress because I figured, well, hell, if Madison Cawthorn can win the congressional seat at 24 years old, I could do it at 31.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the idea. But obviously, because I have only been here for a few years, I'm still learning more about North Carolina. I know so much about Virginia though because I've been there for 20 years, and of course, Virginia was a big state, not just for not just during the war, our war for independence against England, but also in the war between the states. And as a military guy, I do enjoy military history, so I know a lot about Virginia based off of those 2 wars that were there. And I will admit I still have a lot more to learn about North Carolina, but I kind of approach it the way that I do when I was in the military. So when I was doing that, when I joined a brand new unit, just because I didn't know, the most or everything off the bat about that new unit, like the history or anything like that, that doesn't mean that I didn't have any loyalty to that unit. It's not like when I showed up, I was like, oh yeah, I'm still loyal to my last unit where I came from. No, I'm here to serve in this unit that I'm here in now, and that's how I am with North Carolina. So
Great. So everybody in the audience, we're getting ready to have your questions up on the stage. So if you have any questions, go ahead and raise your hands. I only see one in there right now, but Mike, could you tell me what America First means to you?
I mean, I'm a strict constitutionalist, so
Okay.
I read things literally. So when you say America first, that means you have to put this country first. It's putting America first. And the thing is, we can't be like Team America World Police in which we're going out there with the fire extinguisher, we're putting out the world's problems. We need to be able to take care of ourselves first, because if we don't take care of ourselves first, then we can't help other people. I mean, even if you look at, like, for example, if you look at like at the safety guide at the back of a chair of being in an airplane, you put the oxygen mask down on yourself first, and then your kid, because you have to be able to take care of yourself first in order for you to be able to take care of your kid, and it's kind of similar.
Very nice. All right. Well, are you ready for your first question from the audience?
Sure.
All right. Okay, Max, we're going to bring you up first.
All right. I feel like a lot of people have not answered this question before, but what is your stance on the Patriot Act?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
The Patriot Act. What's your stance on the Patriot Act?
The Patriot Act. So I know that was, as I recall, that was done originally to let's see. That was done originally to. Man, I'm having a brain fart.
9/11.
Yeah, right. So in order to make sure that nobody else attacked us for 9/11, to vet foreign sources and make sure that no one was going to do anything else against that. So, the saying is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I understand why that was done, but of course, over time, what's going to happen? People are going to twist that and reinterpret it to now the Patriot Act is being used against, us, against, American citizens. And that's not right. So I would imagine that for legislation like that, maybe there should have been like a sunset clause put into it. And that way, after, I'd say, I don't know, 10, 15 years, it just goes away. Now it's being used to hunt down conservatives like us. So,
Yeah,
and I don't like that.
it's quite unfortunate that that it's still around and that it's. I think the latest vote had it pass overwhelmingly to continue. So it's too bad. All right, next up is Palm. Palm, why don't you come on up?
Hey, Mike. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah, we can hear you, Dark.
Thank you for joining us tonight. My first question, just your intro was interesting. I wanted to touch more on your whenever you left the military, making that tough decision. I want to ask, how many others do you know? How many of those soldiers like you left over the, I guess, the forced coercion, I guess, to take the shot? And do you know anybody who did take it and stay that they're having some regrets, or even, like I mentioned, antibody dependency enhancement, they're always sick, or they're not able to do physically the things that they used to do? Those are two questions I have. Thanks.
Okay. Well, the first one is I can't speak on behalf of all the services, but last I was tracking, in terms of both religious and medical exemption requests in the Army, there were 3,943, and I was one of them. So I was one of almost 4,000 Army soldiers to put in the request and was denied. And but I don't know how many were actually denied. I just know there's a couple hundred. It's honestly, it's a mess right now. I've heard that there's people who have put in their original requests, like I did, and it got denied. There are people who are still waiting to hear back if that a request was denied. There's been people who have put up their appeals. So there was a denial and then they appealed it, and their appeals are still pending. I mean, so it's like three different things. It's like people have either gotten their denial back, they're still waiting on a denial, or they're still waiting on their appeal to be answered. So it's like three different things right now. It's an absolute crap basket.
Right.
And then your next question was about if there's anyone that regrets it. So I actually did have an outspoken sergeant major who was, he even said himself, he goes, "Man, that was cowardly of me to just, go ahead and do that, and I regret it." And he's told me a couple of times, and he's very vocal about it, even in the workplace, that he regretted it and he was cowardly, and he's had COVID again since getting the shots, and I actually had a couple soldiers that got COVID again after getting their shots, and here I am, over 2 years now, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Sorry, I mean 2 years to flatten the curve, and I'm still fine. So I mean, that's just all ridiculous. They had four things. They said, first, the government tells you to do it. Then it's, but you won't get COVID. Oh, you won't spread COVID. And then it'll keep you out of hospitals. Well, you can still get it. You can still spread it. You can still get in the hospital. And the one thing that stands left is the government told you to. And now it wasn't the three things. That was the big one, so. But yeah, did I answer your question? I'm kind of everywhere.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Palm. The audience, and next up is Ghost Pines.
Hey, Ghost.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Great.
Great. How are you?
Good, thank you. Hi, Mike. I'm so happy you're here. My question is, I see a list of objectives on your website.
Mhm.
You wish to tackle policy objectives that you wish to tackle when you are elected to Congress. What would you say is your number one top of mind policy objective that you're going to try to tackle day one moving forward? From day one moving forward, what is number one top of mind policy objective you would like to tackle for the state of North Carolina and for your fellow Americans?
It's kind of a tough one because there's a lot of issues that we have in our country right now, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be meeting here like this, like our founding fathers and the Sons of Liberty and all that. But so my three main ones that I was doing was I'm against medical tyranny, I'm for election integrity, and I'm anti-CRT. So it's tough because I really wish I could pursue election integrity and medical tyranny at the same time. Because I mean, let's face it, I'm really big on medical tyranny because I'm not going to Congress obviously just to give them a piece of my mind on on them saying, hey, you have to choose between your God and your country, and I chose my God. But there's a lot of my constituents who also had to choose between their livelihoods, their careers, and their faith, like me. So I'm also going to DC to represent all of them, to be, you know, to be their champion in a sense, to fight for them, to end these mandates that they can return back to their careers and just be left the hell alone by government. So I think it's really important to get people back into their jobs. But election integrity is important because if we don't tackle that, then then these elections, they're just not going to matter because, just like Stalin said, the elections don't matter, the votes don't matter. It's who counts the votes that matter. So I'm kind of tied between those two things. Um, yeah, that's it's hard for me to choose just one. I'm going to try and simultaneously attack those two issues at the same time.
I think you can walk and chew gum for sure.
Yeah.
What do you see as the major, thing that voter integrity or election integrity should focus around? What's the one thing that you think that we could tackle that would make it much better?
Well, I remember being a few things. So, one, stop having dead people vote, whether they're Democrat or not. That's always a step in the positive direction. Voter ID. We need to end these ballot box drop offs, and we need to somehow have a system or a way to check so that if someone tries to vote in one precinct, they can't just jump in their car and then drive over to another precinct and vote there too. It'd be great if there's a way in which if someone votes once in one place, it just gets updated. And if they try to do that somewhere else, then not only are they, not only can they not vote a second time, but also they could be, arrested or something.
Mm.
that'd be great. That way they don't try and drive to a third or fourth precinct to vote.
Yeah.
So I think those are the main ones. No dead people. Making sure people are the right age to vote. Voter ID. No multiple voting. Mail-in ballots. Like the state of Wisconsin had a great thing in which they had one of the strictest laws with mail-in ballots, in which they would not they would mail out absentee ballots or mail out ballots or mail-in ballots to those who requested them, and of course, what happened? They received like double the number of votes back than what were requested for, which is obviously voter fraud.
Yep.
So.
I think personally, for me, I've been a election judge for going on 17 years now. Mail-in ballots are probably the key thing for me, anyways. Only because the chain of custody is not concrete,
That's
and
terrible.
yeah, it's not. It's definitely not what it should be for secure elections. So I would appreciate it if you get elected that you focus on that for sure.
Oh yeah, I will, because I actually have a personal story. I actually have a personal election fraud story. So This was back when I was living in Oklahoma, but at that time I was still a Virginia resident because Virginia is much more of a swing state. Even back in, I think it was 2018, than Oklahoma was. I mean, Oklahoma was solid red like West Virginia, and I remember it was so surreal even now looking back. But I did an absentee ballot for Virginia because I'm military, so I was military at the time, so I could do that. And I voted for maybe it was 16. I voted for Trump, so it was 16. And I remember I folded it up and I sealed it shut, and then I had it in my hand. I had my vote in my hand, and I was about to go out to my mailbox, right? And then I got a call, and I took the call, and I think it was what they told me was that they had my vote. They called me and they said, "Thank you, Mr. Andriani, for your vote. Appreciate it. I just want to let you know that we got it." And I listened to this, and I guess it must have been like the Virginia State Board of Elections or whatever. But I'm holding my vote in my hand, and I'm looking at it as they're telling me that they have my vote in Virginia, and it's just atrocious. And that was 6 years ago now, so it's utterly ridiculous.
Yeah,
that actually happened.
Yeah, we heard lots of stories from 2020 where mail-in voters didn't vote mail-in, but when they went to show up to vote in person, they'd already voted mail-in. So
yep, I've read those stories, and I've heard personal stories about that. People have told me that happened to them. Yeah.
I went to Milwaukee and got voters' affidavits signed, stating such. So yeah, it was out there for sure.
Yep.
All right, HEJB, one of my favorite memers on Instagram. Do you have a question?
Thank you. Is a couple of questions is what I have. Is that one is about the election voting integrity. Is that for one is that it's up to each of the states on that one.
Right.
So, I wholeheartedly believe that that the Fed should not and cannot have anything to do with the votes at all. The only requirement that they could possibly do is the age limit. Now my question about that for each of the states is to, particularly with on the eastern border of the United States, is what about the complete chain of custody from the ballots that the voters get all the way to finalization of the count of the paper ballots. Is that
I didn't understand the second part of your question. The first part of your question, I'll say that I too am against, the federal government running these state elections. I mean, look at us, guys. Our country's been around for almost 250 years, and we're still here. It hasn't fallen apart, at least not yet. We're still a constitutional republic. Last I checked, though, I know that's changing. And meanwhile, this whole time, the states have run their own elections. So it's worked out just fine for nearly a quarter of a millennia. All right, so we don't need to federalize these elections. We just don't.
That's what they're trying to do.
I know that's what they're trying to do, and I'm gonna I'm hitting the no button on that. And then your second question was about the chain of custody, which I didn't exactly understand.
Is that the chain of custody going from the ballot that the voter gets, writes it out, and then having a paper trail all the way to the finalization of counts.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Is that not only should there be a paper copy, I believe that a way to double check on the digital copy as well and eliminate entirely electronic voting machines.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I am not a fan of electronic, and I know people are saying, "Oh, we could have them made in America, and you can have them, not connect to the internet and stuff." I mean, it's too easy to put something in there that
Hack
makes it
paper.
that's wireless or or anything like that. So, I just had an idea, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to do it, but I could see that the paper ballots could be digitally scanned that way, and some kind of software is used on the paper ballots when they're made digital, so that it can recognize words and stuff. That way, you can like Control F someone's name, and then you can see if they already voted or not because it's already been digitized or something like that. I mean,
That's what
yeah.
I was also
Yeah.
going to allude to on my next question about
Okay.
or a suggestion really is about that. Is that about the digital copy of the ballots themselves is to where it can be scanned and then the voter registration code can be sent out throughout the state. That way, it ensures that nobody can double vote.
Right. No, I mean, I agree.
Yeah, I think those are great ideas too. All right, HEJB, thanks for coming up on stage and asking all those questions. I really appreciate it. I'm going to move you back to the audience. And Damien, I think you had a quick question.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Cool. I have a new microphone, I think. So, I was looking earlier at the North Carolina District 9 results from the last election. Concern about party is not an issue for me. I mean, you had Dan Bishop, who's the current incumbent, win over Cynthia Wallace by about 11%, slightly over 11%, which is good.
Yeah.
So the Democratic Party is not really the concern so much as the primary, right? So Dan Bishop, I believe, is going to be running for re-election.
For District 8.
It's for District 8.
Yeah. So I'm running in District 9, so it's been a mess. So Dan was a District 8 congressman. So even though his counties are going to change, they're going to be consolidated into the new District 8. So he's running against, he's just trying to keep his seat. And I'm running in District 9. Yeah.
Okay. So is it Richard Hudson that's currently in the
I'm running against Richard Hudson, who's 9. And man, it's been a real crap show because right now, like at least the county that I'm living in is District 8, which is Dan Bishop. But now then it became District 4, and then the 4-3 Democrat majority Supreme Court of North Carolina kicked back the maps and all this stuff. So we were 8, then we were supposed to be 4, and then the county that I'm living in now has been split between District 7 and 9. And I'm running at 9. So yeah, it's been a bit of a cluster. But yeah, I'm running against Hudson because it's District 9, not Dan Bishop. And Dan Bishop was also at the Trump rally in Selma, North Carolina last Saturday, and I was there for that. That was good fun. Yeah.
That's what I was a little confused about, because I know that there's been a little bit of movement around in North Carolina regarding who's running where.
Well, it's I've been really it's been really upsetting because the thing is like how are the voters supposed to vote for the candidates if the candidates don't even know what freaking district they're in? Like we didn't even know what district we were supposed to be in for weeks. Some of us months. And how are voters supposed to be doing that? And personally, my personal theory and belief is that the Democrats are trying to maintain the status quo. They want everyone to remain where they are and maybe even pick up a few seats in North Carolina. And they want to keep the status quo because they're waiting to get more power in North Carolina to really change things their way. And the best way to do that is to screw up the maps and make this mass confusion so no one knows who to vote for. And so what people think is, okay, well, since I don't know who to vote for, I'm going to vote for the current guy who's the politician, the incumbent, and then it just maintains the status quo. So that's my personal theory on what's going on with all that crap.
Well, it sounds like there's definitely going to be a bit of a jump ball situation, I think, with everybody shifting around. The norms of who did what last go around kind of get shifted around a bit. So you're going to be running against Richard Hudson.
Yes.
Who I'm curious, what do you know about him? What issues would you say that you stray from him on, and what can you offer that Richard Hudson can't?
So I will tell you that I've heard him speak a couple times now, and he keeps saying that apparently people keeps this group. I can't remember the group, but they say that he's the 12th most conservative person in Congress, right? And I've spoken to a couple different people about that, constituents, and you know what? Every single one of them told me. Every single one of them told me that's crap. It's not true. This guy is, he was conservative at first, but he's been in for so if he wins this November, this would be his 5th term, which means he would be entering his 9th, 10th year in Congress. And I can tell you what, this guy is more than fraying at the edges. He's he's turning into a rhino. And I'd say that the biggest break I have with him is on this Ukraine stuff. And I remember I actually made an announcement in the server in the 2020 Congress section. But, I've seen this guy go around for speeches and stuff, and he's wearing the American flag and the Ukrainian flag. And I remember when President Trump said, "Hey, I'm not the president of the world. I'm the president of America." And that's how I look at Hudson. This guy, he's a congressman for North Carolina. He's not a congressman for Ukraine. Why do you have the American flag in the Ukraine flag? It's just ridiculous. I mean, I wear a lapel pin too. It's a so I picked it up in an antique store in North Carolina a couple months ago, but it's a bicentennial pin from 1976, and it's got the American flag with the 50 stars on it, and then it's got the 13 stars, the colonial flag, which North Carolina was one of the original 13 colonies, which is why I had that pin. But I mean, yeah, and I was looking at some of this stuff even before I came into this meeting. Excuse me, this AMA. But he's got stuff here like American Ammo and Defense of Ukraine Act. So I guess he's trying to get American ammo to go to Ukraine, which you and I both know. Well, we all know that ammo is hard to come across in America, and it's expensive as hell too. Why are we sending our ammo to Ukraine? It's just, what else did he do? What else do I got here? And then a couple weeks ago, there was that $1.5 trillion omnibus bill that was spent. So nearly 3,000 page, $1.5 trillion omnibus spending package filled with Biden's policy priorities, along with an attached $13.6 billion for aid to Ukraine. It fails to reverse the COVID-19 emergency or the Biden administration's vaccine mandates, as conservative leaders have called for, and doubles down on the Green New Deal style government subsidies for green energy and climate policies. This guy voted for that. He voted for, more money to Ukraine. I mean, geez, with all the money that we're sending to Ukraine, you think they'd be kicking, Russia's butt right now, but apparently that's not the case. $13.6 billion to Ukraine, fails to reverse COVID-19 emergency orders or mandates. Doubles down on Green New Deal style government and green energy and climate policies. I mean, does that sound conservative to you? Because it certainly doesn't to me. And I'll tell you, if I was in his position, I would have voted against that. But I guess he wouldn't, since he loves wearing his little Ukrainian flag. So, sorry, a little bit of a rant there, but it's all
right.
true.
Passionate about
I'm
something.
angry too, just like everyone else, So.
Nice. All right. Thanks for answering that. That guy, I see that you're muted. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I was going to ask to call on him next because he's been sitting there patiently for a bit. So thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Can y'all hear me real good?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so I had about 2 questions. My first was, I'm starting a conservative business for some youth. I was wondering what your number one advice for me is. I'm ordering merch and I'm trying to schedule some small events with about 30 people, and I'm trying to just get some movement up in my area in Houston.
Okay, well, for one, Texas is a great start. That's very fortunate that you're there. Texas is a very conservative state. That's good. Houston, I've been to a lot of places in Texas. I've been back when I was living in Oklahoma. I've been to let's see, I went to Lubbock. I've been to Dallas. I've been to Amarillo. I've been to what was that Air Force base at? San Antonio. Yeah, I've been to a number of places around Texas. Unfortunately, Houston, that was one of the few cities that I haven't been to. So you're trying to start a young conservative group, you're saying, kind of like a young adult club. Did I catch that right?
Yeah, I've met with several conservative leaders. Like I've met
Okay.
with Abbott, with Crenshaw, with Don Jr.,
Okay.
Don Hopkins, and some other big people, Patrice Mack, and some other people that are out there. And they've been they were volunteering to give some money towards our organization. And I'm just trying to figure out some good ideas on how to grow the group. What are some first steps to help grow it so then we can put on large events? I have some good contacts with some speakers to create some conferences, but I just need that first jump to get to that platform so then I can spread the word. So I'm just trying to figure out what are some good steps I can do to get the word out.
I think one of the best things you could do is I would do some research on some young adult church groups, and Christianity, Judaism. I mean, that's all being attacked by the left. So I mean, we're all on the same team here, despite our ideological differences. We got to stick together if we want to survive this. So I would see if you could find like some young adult religious groups like that, and the thing is, when it comes to those kinds of groups, I know there's like the whole separation between church and state thing. So you may not necessarily be able to speak in front of a group of them. And some of these groups have speakers. Like, for example, when I lived in Northern Virginia, I was a member of a Catholic young adult group up there. So what do we Catholics like to do? We like to drink, right? So we would do like theology on tap, and we would go to like Irish bars or Mexican restaurants or Italian restaurants. The three big ones for drinking and partying, being Catholic and all that. And we would just listen to priests or other speakers come in, and we would do that. So you may not necessarily be able to speak in front of a group like that because it is political. However, you could attend those groups and meet people there and individually pitch your idea, pitch your group out to people, and you could probably get them interested in joining because, typically religious people are conservative unless you're a fake Catholic like Biden or Pelosi, since they're not, 100% on board with life begins at conception, which, 95% of biologists agree as well. And I'm sure that they could define what a woman is as well. Yeah. I mean, that's really the best place to start that I could think of. I'm just maybe it depends. So some county GOPs, some are swampier than others. More of the metropolitan urban county GOPs are swampy, but if you could find like some rural ones, if you go to some rural ones, that'd be good too, because some of these clubs have young conservative groups or young Republican groups, and then you could tie in with them and see if they would also like to be involved with your group as well. So you could get involved with, the GOP party groups, conservative groups, libertarian groups, if you want to do something like that.
Charlie Kirk has been helping me out with some of that. I'm a vice president for a chapter of Turning Point, so he's been helping me try and getting some networking in the Houston area.
Nice.
You can maybe even make some posters, make some bulletins. I mean, people who follow sports are generally conservative. Maybe you could put up some like a poster, I don't know, like a little league game or something like that, and maybe people would or post them in high schools or something. I'm not a community organizer, unfortunately. But those are just ideas off the top of my head that I could think of.
Yeah, that helps. And my second question was, what are you thinking is going to happen? We'll actually have two more questions if you don't mind.
Mhm.
My next question was, what do you think is going to happen the next few steps with Ukraine and Russia currently? What do you think the response Biden's going to put forth coming up, or do you think he should be putting forth a different response? And what do you think he should be doing differently, or what do you think he will be doing like that?
So I'm a really big student of history, and this whole thing going on really reminds me of when the Soviet Union invaded the Czech Republic. I believe it was in 1955 or 1956. And what happened was, the Czech people, they actually reached out to America for assistance, and we did not help them. And the reason being was the Czech Republic was in the sphere of the Soviet Union. And so we didn't do anything. Now, of course, our friends at the CIA, of course, were, causing trouble back then, like they were now. So while we weren't helping them, the CIA was broadcasting into the Czech Republic, galling the Czech people, to fight against the Soviet Union. And I believe they even promised that we would support them. And of course, what do? We didn't do that. So I really think that we should just, we have enough problems here at home that we need to solve, and we can't help other people unless we solve our own problems at home first. So, I think we should just leave that alone. And I know it's an unpopular opinion, but personally, I think it's an establishment opinion. Like these guys like Hudson and other people with the Ukrainian flag. Like, hey, wear the American flag, all right? That's who we're for. We're Americans, and I think I'll tell you what, it is a bit of a blessing in disguise, because this whole Ukraine-Russia thing, I can really tell who the establishment people are because of how much they support Ukraine, or with their pins and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I do support the people of Ukraine. The people, I do feel bad for them. However, their government, which has a dictator, like Madison Cawthorn said. I mean, that guy has silenced news channels that were against him. He's silenced political parties who was against him. So the government's got issues. The military has issues. I mean, they got that Azov neo-Nazi battalion. I mean, what the hell is up with that? And if you look back in history, Ukraine actually did have a Waffen SS unit. So they are the descendants of that unit that was actually in Ukraine during World War II. So there's history there. And then in terms of the corporations, we got the whole Hunter Biden thing. It's not just Hunter Biden. It's Pelosi's son. It's Mitt Romney's son. It's Kerry's son. I mean, all these people, sons, are involved in these Ukrainian corporations. Why? Because they're laundering money. And so while I sympathize with the people of Ukraine, I do not agree, and I greatly dislike the government, the military, and the corporations. The quote Ike, the military-industrial complex, and I think those three things need to go, personally. And I mean, they are right. And then we got like 20 of our American biolabs there. Why the hell do we have biolabs right across, right next to Russia? What the hell's up with that? I mean, we already saw what happened with the last biolab in Wuhan. I mean, what the hell is this? What's going on? So I really think that Putin's going in there. I think he's going to clear house. He's already got people who are bringing up documents like, hey, look what we found in Ukraine. Hunter Biden, so it's already. So I know it's not the most popular opinion, but, I really think Putin is against the New World Order. And as the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I think that right now we should let Russia just clean house, clean out that whole corrupt government and system. And I think they're doing us a favor against this whole New World Order stuff, personally.
You just said that you can't take care of, that's like when the plane crashes or when you pull down the mask, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of your child. And you can't go after some other country while your country's screwed up and you can't do anything about your own country. You got to fix the problem you're in currently before you can go out trying to fix any other problem that's already partially screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I think you had a third question, right?
Yeah. And my third question was, what do you see happening with Xi Jinping and Taiwan? Do you see anything happening in the future? Do you see that stirring up anymore?
That's hard to say, because I really thought what a lot of people thought was going to happen was when Russia went into Ukraine, a lot of people were thinking that China was going to use this opportunity in which, when the world was focusing on that conflict, that they were just going to, walk over and steamroll Taiwan. And surprisingly, they haven't done that. But at the same time, China is also the country that plans by decades, centuries, and millennia. So, I mean, as usual, they're probably playing the long game there. So I'm not sure why they didn't jump at that opportunity now. But at the same time, maybe there'll be an even better opportunity in a couple years. I mean, unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't divine the future. But I honestly don't know. I really thought that they were going to go in there, but guess not.
Thank you so much for answering my questions. You have a good one.
You too. Thanks for coming here.
For asking. Hey, just kind of piggyback off of what that guy had mentioned. One of the things that I noticed is America right now is not really trying to mediate a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. It's like completely absent whatsoever. They don't look interested in trying to stop the war through a peace deal. There's nothing going on. What do you think about that? Does that seem strange to you at all?
Not exactly, because having served in the military and having served in special forces, I think this isn't the whole, this isn't the whole piece, the whole pie, so to speak. But I think so. So for example, let's go back a bit in history. So during the Spanish Civil War that happened in the late 30s, um, but both both Nazi Germany was involved in that war, as well as I believe Russia. And the reason why that they were involved in that war, well, maybe not Russia. I think it was just Nazi Germany. But the reason why they were involved in that war was because they wanted to test their equipment that they were working on, because they were looking to conquer the world. They wanted to see how people fought differently outside of the trench warfare system of World War One, since trench warfare was no longer being done. So I think that not just our country, but I think a lot of other countries are using this opportunity to see what kind of hardware Russia's using, to see what their tactics are, and to see the weak points in Russia, because Russia's against the New World Order. I mean, I'm convinced of that, and of course, a lot of the West supports the New World Order, including most of our people in power on the Hill and in the White House. And so I think they're just trying to see Russia's weak points. And so they don't want to get involved because they just want to learn more about how to defeat Russia. And like I'm saying right now, I think Russia is on our side at the moment. So I think that's part of it. And also, I think that no matter how much money we pour into Ukraine, like all 13.5 billion that we did just a couple weeks ago, Ukraine doesn't have a chance in hell against, the bear that is Russia. So, and also, if our leadership is so in bed with Ukraine through money laundering and all that stuff, don't you think it'd be really suspicious if we put in all the support against Russia for Ukraine? I think people may be asking more, like, why are we doing all this much for Ukraine? I think there might be some questions that people don't want to answer, with that too. So that's just some of the things that kind of mull around in my head about all that.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. All right, Nictobot, you're up next. I can guarantee I know what your first question is going to be, so go ahead and ask.
I can guess.
Go for it.
We took his wind.
Uh-oh. Nicto, we can't hear you.
I was about to say, I'm built like a brick wall, so you can huff and you puff all you want. You're not going to blow me down.
Nicto's mic is not working.
Someone needs to
I'm
remove that robot.
gonna kick you out, Nicto.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask your question. I'm gonna give you a chance to come back up on stage and ask it at a later point. Let's see if it works now when I bring you up. We'll give this another shot.
Hello, radio check.
There we go.
There you go, loud and clear.
Lima Charlie. All right, so I got a question and a comment. Both
Sure.
of them are totally unrelated. My first question is, what is your opinion on the National Firearms Act and other unconstitutional gun laws?
Well, for one, they're unconstitutional, so I'm definitely not about that. Yeah, I would. If it comes up to vote to repeal that or anything like that, I will definitely, say no to that.
Good. All right, Nicto, what's your second one?
And my comment is hell yeah, brother, raise hell, praise hell.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think Nicto's is in the army. Are you in the army, Nicto? I think so.
Correct.
Yeah. And nobody's perfect. I mean, you couldn't.
Why don't you stand at the front lean protest there?
Yeah. Nice. All right. Thanks, Nicto. You got anything else? Do you want to ask a question or?
I'm good. Rock on, man. Appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Awesome. Cool. All right, Palm, you're going to come right back up.
Yeah, just checking mic again. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Cool. All right. My next question is, statement I'll just state is screw funding. What is your ground game versus your opponents? What you've seen so far? I'll let you answer that one. I think I'll ask another quick one after that.
What's my ground game for beating them?
Yeah, I mean, just what you've seen in your district versus your opponents.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is definitely a good year to run because when the census happened in 2020, North Carolina was one of the few states, along with Texas and Florida, and I believe Colorado, that actually gained a seat in Congress. And so what happened was, because of that, everything changed in terms of the districts and all that stuff. So what's great about that is the same counties, the counties that voted for my opponent, the incumbent Richard Hudson, for nearly a decade now, are now no longer the same counties. I mean, I've gone to some of these counties in the new District 9, and people come up to me and they've said, "Is Dan Bishop still our congressman?" Because they think that that they're in 8, and that's no longer the case. Now they're in 9. So I actually have a significant advantage right there, because the same people that supported this guy is no longer the case. I think, like, before, he had like 8 counties who voted for him previously for nearly a decade, and now I think it's only 3 out of the 9 counties we have now are those original ones. So I mean, that's only a third of his base that he has now. And what's also been helpful too is, he's currently an incumbent, so he's also been in Washington a lot while I get to still campaign. So I get to talk and stuff, and he's not around. So that's really helpful too. It also really helps that I resigned my commission over the COVID shots, because one of the things I tell people when I speak is, people will say whatever they have to get elected or to get what they want in life, and I personally, I take more stock in action than I do words, because you can talk the talk, but people don't always walk the walk, right? And and I said that, I won't bend my knee before anyone but God. And when it comes to the military, I wanted to be in the Army since I was 8 years old. I waited 15 years to join the Army, but I dropped it because my faith, my convictions, and my principles, my beliefs are more important than what I personally wanted. And so I think it's important. And I'll tell you what, every time that I've said that, I mean, people love it, and it's sincere, it's from the heart, and it's true. And people are tired of people running for office saying they're going to do these things, and then they just don't do it. I mean, they want, honest, upfront, candid people who are just going to say, just going to tell it how it is, and that they're not going to compromise. And and also, this is also because of all this craziness going on. It's also very unhealthy right now to be an incumbent, to be a politician. And so I also have that the winds running in my sails in that direction as well.
Right. Thank you for that. The next question I have, just touching on the changes that you saw from the census and the I guess it's redistricting, whatever. Do you see any county GOP committees that are completely taken over by rhinos, where they have like a declarative rule where they use a loose association, where they just make up rules and they can just use their interpretation to do whatever they want? Or do they have a lot of counties where there's been some changes or takeovers by America First patriot citizens that have replaced them? Do you see anything like that recently in North Carolina, and maybe even your district?
Yeah. So what I can tell you is, there's 100 counties in North Carolina, and obviously, I'm not running for U.S. Senate. If I was running for U.S. Senate, I would try and visit all 100 counties, since I'd be representing the whole state. But in the counties that I have had experience with, I've been to Hoke County. Hoke County is solid. They are American. They are very. I've noticed that the more rural counties are the more America first and the pretty based ones. So Polk County was good, and Scotland County is good. Harnett County is good too. I'm in Cumberland County, and the thing is that Cumberland has like the largest city, Fayetteville, in the district, and so the thing about that county is it's a little bit swampy.
Mhm.
I would say that county is probably like 70% pro-Trump. But there's definitely some shenanigans going around. Yeah, I mean that's probably the most I can see of that. So so the more rural counties are typically better. The more urban, metropolitan ones are more swampy. I will say though there is good news though, because pretty much every time that a MAGA pro-Trump guy or someone has taken over like a county GOP, once those leadership positions start to get taken over by America First patriots, the swamp creatures start jumping the ship like they're rats.
They scatter.
Trying to they scatter. So what's important is it's important that we all get involved with our local GOPs, because it's like Jenga, right? So the national GOP is on the top, right? So we got to play this like Jenga. We have to remove the supports underneath the top of the tower so that the whole rotten thing collapses. And then we need to rebuild the party to make it a strong party, an America First Patriot Party. But we got to poke out those blocks so that all these Republicans on the Hill, they just topple. And then we make Congress and the White House as it needs to be for our nation and for its people.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Palm, thanks for the questions. Good discussion. I'm going to bring up HEJB once again for his second round.
Ring a ding ding.
Howdy, howdy.
Thanks again for letting me highlight some things about this. One thing that I have noticed, particularly is that within my area for the local political camps, is that there's definitely more of hands-on on the DNC side than there is on the GOP side. That's what I can see. Is that how is that? My question is pretty much in general for everybody on this one is so how do you suppose that we could get more people to be hands-on in a day-to-day within their time constraints and their efforts?
You mean besides making memes like you do?
Besides is that do the whole Merlin thing, that's fine, but I'm talking about actually getting in and being politically active within their communities on with their school boards, with their city and township councils, with their county boards and commissions that they need to be watching out for. I mean, is that the local communities is the building blocks of the entire nation, period. So what about that aspect about going about and looking at all these elected officials at local levels and having people get involved on that one to observe, to say, no, this is bullshit. We're not going to do this way. So what can we all do get them involved like that, like I am with myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you asked. I actually posted some stuff in the voice chat text. So I actually myself am a precinct chair or a precinct captain or a precinct committeeman. There's all sorts of different names that vary state by state or even county by county. So what I would recommend doing is, I mean, it's a simple Google search. Type in something like whatever your county is and state, your political party. And usually these political parties, they'll have like Facebook pages because, the people who are involved in these parties are typically older. So they have Facebook pages. They don't really, do Discord and all this, all this stuff. Right. So, but I would become a precinct committeeman, which is what I've done. I remember it was over a year ago. I saw a link that was, I can't remember how I came across it, but maybe it was in a Look Ahead America server. But it was a clip from Steve Bannon's War Room in which he was talking to a precinct committeeman from Arizona on the precinct strategy. And long story short, if you want to take back the country, you have to take back. You have to go grassroots and the local county. And the precinct committeeman is the lowest official party position that you could be in. And what's great about it is that it's pretty easy to get. And so the way that you could do that is, contact. So, okay, so I'll look at it like this. So I have a voter card, right? And on my voter card, it tells me what precinct I'm in. Okay. So what I did was once I started getting more involved with my local county GOP last year, I called the headquarters and then the first vice chair who's you have the GOP, you have like the party chair, and then the first vice chair is the second in command, the second vice chair is third in command, right? So I called them and I said, hey, I'm in this precinct. Do you have a precinct committeeman in the position? And the guy said, no, we don't. And then you could just ask, hey, I'd like to do that. And then they could either say yes or no. And but what's great is that if the position is empty, they'll pretty much put you in it because they want people to take these positions because they're empty. They want precinct committeemen to go out there and get volunteers, to do door knocking, to observe ballots, ballot training and all that stuff, right? And then here's another thing that a lot of people don't know. If your precinct already has a precinct captain in the position, you can ask if like an adjacent county, so if like a county right next door or not too far from you has a committeeman, and then if they don't, you could be the committeeman for that precinct. And so precinct committeemen are very important because not only are they the grassroots, getting volunteers involved, and all that, and this isn't for all counties, but there are counties out there in which if you're elected, if you're made a precinct committeeman, then you're actually made a member of the executive committee. And the executive committee is extremely powerful. I'm going to reemphasize that. It is extremely powerful because being as a member of that committee, you are a voting member of that board in which you can make decisions. You can make decisions on which candidates the party will support or should be elected. You can vote on fundraisers that are coming out. Like, for example, so back in, back in January, I was at one of these meetings as a precinct committeeman, and there was the fundraiser idea that came out of having General Mike Flynn come to our county to give us talk, at the fundraiser to raise money for the county GOP, right? And of course, I said my county was a little bit swampy, so there were a couple people who, who grumbled about that, because they. Well, I'm not going to get into that, but anyways, so but I was one of the people who voted to have Mike Flynn, appear, and he actually was just here this past Sunday. And I can actually got a photo with him.
You can throw that in the voice
Yeah,
chat.
I'm gonna try to. Hold on a second.
Nice.
Nope, hold on a second. Where is it?
So while you're looking for it, I can confirm what Mike is saying. Last Saturday, I've been a precinct captain for close to 20 years. Last Saturday was our township's, my local Republican township's endorsement meeting. We had all the candidates from the state of Illinois who are in contested runoffs or in primaries come and give us a 2-minute spiel. We kicked them out, and then us precinct captains voted for who we were going to endorse as a township Republican party, and then we put that out actually just yesterday. So you can get involved, and it doesn't take much. I've been a precinct captain from 4 different precincts in my township over my time. I've lived in 2 different places within my township during the last 20 years. So it's really easy to do. You just show up on Saturdays on meetings or whenever they have their meetings. Go walk your precinct, knock on doors, drop off literature, stuff envelopes, just little stuff that helps out. It's really not a lot to do, and you can help out and make a big difference. A lot of times they will ask you to be on the what do you call it, when you go down to the state or even to the national party. You're going to be an elector. I think that's what they call them, electors. Is that right, Mike?
Yes. So I think delegates.
Delegates
to the convention. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
also very important to do as well, because delegates cast votes for who they think should be the person to run on the ballot.
Exactly. A lot of times you can become a delegate with very little work as a precinct captain. So as long as you show up and put in the time, you can do a lot of stuff on your own. So sorry to hijack while you're looking for your.
No, you're good. I was just looking at some other picks I have. So I actually also met Jesse Morgan in June of last year. For those who don't know, he was the Pennsylvania whistleblower for the 200,000 ballots that were driven down by that USPS contractor. That was him. I met him, and I actually also went to airborne school with Tulsi Gabbard back when I was doing that stuff, which was kind of cool. She was actually in the same company I was in. So that was pretty cool too. Of course, that one has me in uniform, so I don't really want to post that on here because you're kind of supposed to keep that stuff separate. And who else have I met? I met Seth Keshel. I was at a fundraiser for another candidate, and he was there. He is one tall guy. I'm almost 6 foot, and this guy was like shoulder. God, he's just a tall dude. So, but yeah, I've been meeting a lot of people. It's been quite interesting.
Very nice. All right, we have up next Epic. We're going to bring you up. Sorry, that guy, you've already asked a question. Epic hasn't. I'll bring you up next, that guy. So, Epic, go ahead and accept the invite and you can come up on the stage.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can.
All right, how's it going? I just have a quick question. Who would you recommend for District 2? Because that's where I am.
That's an excellent question. Hold on a second. I wonder. So I was endorsed by the North Carolina Grassroots Government, which is a pro-Constitution, pro-Christian, or Judeo-Christian group. I wonder if. No, unfortunately, there's no one for District 2. Who are your candidates for District 2? Maybe I can
gotta
look
pull
it
up the sample ballot.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. North Carolina.
I think Mahesh Ganek.
District 2 Congress. Let me see if Ballotpedia says something about that.
Yeah. Adina Safta.
Okay, so the incumbent. So it looks like the incumbent is Deborah Ross, maybe. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's see. Mahesh, Adina, Chris. Oh. So Christine Valiverde. That's funny. So I was actually running against Christine Valiverde back when we were all together in District 4. Definitely vote for her. She is your definite American first patriot. She was a law enforcement officer, and she's pretty solid. I would say out of all of them. She even got endorsed by General Mike Flynn. So I don't know if that means anything to you, but
yeah, I'll definitely check her out.
Yeah, she's good. In fact, I may even have an older article from a couple months ago, back when I was still running against her, that I could send to you. But yeah, I would definitely vote for her. I've actually spoken with her campaign manager a couple times too. Just for just to keep in contact and stuff like that. Because it's funny because we had originally in District 4, it was an empty seat. So because it was an empty seat, we had 10 candidates in there. So at the time, we were all, competing against each other. But now that we're all in different districts because our district changed again, we still keep in contact and talk with each other because it's kind of like the OG group, but we've all just have split out the different districts. So it's no longer competitive like it was before. So yeah, I would definitely go for her.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And good luck in your race.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Epic. And I have next that guy. We're going to bring you up next, and then Grogu's lawyer. All right, that guy. Go ahead and ask.
Yeah, I got another couple questions.
Sure.
So my first one was, I've noticed in Texas, I've met with the two senators. We have the Senator Ted Cruz and Brian Hughes.
Mhm.
And Senator Hughes is the one who wrote up the heartbeat bill. I'm
Okay.
sure you're familiar with it. It's the bill
Yeah,
after the
what,
heartbeat.
15 weeks or something like that? That's been passed
Yeah.
in a couple states now.
Yeah, I was wondering, are you seeing this growth throughout the United States? Because I've seen in Oklahoma they've passed it, and various other states they've been passing bills related to this. And do you see in the future, in the next couple of years, a growth like this going over the country?
Yeah, I do, because abortion in the 21st century is very much like slavery of the 19th century. I mean, think of it like this. These first of all, these are people. These are human beings. Slaves weren't considered human beings, and neither were these fetuses. So there's that. So they're not being considered as people. They're not being allowed to live their own lives, freely as they choose to. And it's just an atrocity. And so I think that the way that slavery was eventually ended, that could very well be the case for abortion as well. I mean, think about it. If Roe versus Wade, allows abortion, then who's to say that there won't be some other Supreme Court decision that comes up in which it's banned everywhere? I mean, if it can go from one end of the spectrum, then cause and effect. That means that it could go to the other end of the spectrum, I would imagine. So I think that it is slavery of the 21st century, and that it will eventually, dissolve itself off the face of the earth. Glory to God.
Very good. All right, that guy. You had one more, you said?
Yeah. And then my other question was, who do you see running in 2024? Do you see Ron DeSantis? Do you see any of these, like, you have the South Carolina and North Carolina's governors, I believe, I think personally would be good candidates. Remind me, North Carolina's governor.
We call him King Cooper because he won't give up his emergency powers. He's atrocious. He's vetoed. Not only has he vetoed more bills than any governor, he's vetoed more bills than all North Carolina governors in history combined.
Wow.
This guy is a friggin' tyrant, and he's got to go.
That guy, I think you forgot to mention Trump, who's running most likely.
Right. Yeah, I was just wondering, what candidates do you see running in this next coming up election? Conservative candidates you think might be coming to run?
Well, definitely Trump for president. He's made that clear for a couple months now that he's doing that. I know a lot of people want Ron DeSantis as a vice president, but the thing is he's doing great work in Florida. Florida is becoming one of the last conservative bastions of freedom in this country. I mean, look how successful Florida was during the whole COVID lockdown stuff. Florida was open and flourishing, while everyone else that wasn't fortunate enough to be in that state, we were all getting our butts handed to us with people losing jobs and places closing down. I think DeSantis is more effective in Florida than he would be as a vice president. And then the other thing too is if you speak to Floridians, they'll say, "Oh no, we don't want DeSantis to be our vice president. We want him to be our governor." People in Florida want DeSantis to remain as their governor. So I don't think he's going to abandon his constituents who clearly want him to go run as, VP for the Dawn. So that opens up the door for who would be a good vice president. And it's hard to say. I mean, I've heard people joke around about Candace Owens, which, in terms of the whole, what do they call that? It's like the victim hierarchy, like, female, African American, all that stuff, right? So in terms of, the check the block category, I guess, yeah. I mean, so I guess I would check the block, but we need to vote people in based on merit, not based on victim mentality and all this crap, right? In fact, the reason why we're in such a pickle to begin with is because we're voting for people based on their physical traits and not their character traits, which is completely against what the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said in his famous speech. I mean, gosh, it's like we're going backwards, and it just drives me crazy as a history guy. Anyways, so I don't know. I mean, Candace Owens. I mean, I know there are people who like that a lot. There are people who don't like that a lot.
Candace is too young to become president.
Ben Shapiro. I know a lot of people aren't fans of Ben Shapiro, but he's more like a supercomputer than a human being. I mean, in terms of like crunching numbers and stuff, he would probably be good for just consuming data and then spitting it back out. So I honestly don't know. President, I'd say Donald Trump. As for the VP, it's really up in the air. I don't know, but I do think we need someone who's younger to help balance out the age thing with Donald Trump. I think having a younger person would be better because I'll tell you what, the Republican Party definitely needs a blood transfusion of younger people, and that's another reason why I'm running, because people are tired of voting for great grandfathers. They want to vote younger people, and so. Yeah, so just throw my hat in the ring.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Grogu's lawyer, the most newest member of our server, literally just got vetted not more than 2 minutes ago. Grogu's lawyer, welcome to the stage. And his mic's not working.
No, I was going to ask how the kid was doing. All right.
Maybe try and get your mic in order, Grogu's lawyer. I do have his question in case he isn't able to ask it. I'm going to move you back to the audience, and then you can raise your hand again. I'll bring you back up. Dark Laughs, you're up next, and then that guy, if Grogu's lawyer doesn't get it set up, so we'll check and see. He's in the process of getting it fixed. So
I'm sorry, real quick. By the way, Guy, I got your DMs. I'll answer it. After this. Just I got you.
Okay.
I just want to say that. Yeah.
For that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right, Dark Laughs, you're up.
All right. My question for you, sir, is who gives a shit about the Ukraine?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you, I'll answer that question. The establishment does, and I'm not part of the establishment. So my concern is with my country and, my state, North Carolina, and my constituents in District 9. I wear the American flag pin, not the Ukraine flag pin. So
Right on. Good answer.
All right, good. Do you have any more questions, Dark Laughs, or?
No, that's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks.
Peace.
Yep. All right. Grogu's lawyer, going to bring you back up one more try. We'll give this a shot. Go ahead and try it.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, we can. Perfect.
Sorry about that. Thank you again for the vetting and for the warm welcome. Mike, first off, thanks so much for being here tonight. I see you attended BMI in Virginia, and your home state of North Carolina has a lot of great universities. So as someone who's currently in higher education, I think we're seeing a lot of an academic war almost on both conservative and capitalist values, both in North Carolina and around the country. So do you believe that there is anything that you can do either for your constituency or at the congressional level to either help level the playing field or kind of also in the military education field as well, as we're kind of seeing with different regimes kind of pushing narratives in there as well. But for North Carolina specifically, to help these conservative or Republican students who are facing this suppression and prosecution almost that we're seeing around the country on higher education campuses?
Well, right off the bat, I think tenured professorships need to go, because if you got the same people, it's like congressmen, you you gotta, they're good for a couple years and then they start to turn rotten, and you gotta get rid of them. I think the proverbial saying is, you should replace your congressman like diapers for the same reason. All right. So, I guess you can make the argument for some of these professors too, especially these professors who were part of the counterculture of the 60s as, late teens, early 20s, and they're still there, 40, 50 years later, teaching that same crap. And they're trying to indoctrinate, trying to brainwash a whole generation like they were during the Vietnam War and all that stuff. So I would say, getting rid of them would be a huge step. It's very hard to what's the word I'm looking for? It's to get people out of these like disentrench them. I know it's not a real word, sorry, but
Makes sense.
to get these people out. That's a hard one. It's funny because when I look back on history, I remember that when Hitler came to his rise in power in Germany, all of the professors in colleges were against him, because these were educated people who knew that, fascism would be the death of their republic, of the Weimar Republic. And so, the brown shirts went in there and they either escorted these professors out or they beat the crap out of them. And unfortunately, how it is now is we don't have these professors who are outspoken against, these fascist regime like what we're experiencing here in America. Now they're part of the same team. So, I mean, back then, in Germany, they were actually against that, but I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that question. That's something that I would definitely have to look into more.
That sounds good. Before that guy comes back up on the stage for his third shot at it, there was some questions in the voice chat text. Your opinions about the J6 political, I would say, prisoners that are still in there, and some of them have been, I would say, moved, or they've had their cases dismissed, or they were acquitted of charges. I think there were a couple recently. I really haven't been following as much as I should, but I believe it's there. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm actually going to put in here. So I did the answer the January 6th question with Look at America, but no, I stand in solidarity with them, because I actually had an executive committee meeting with my local party on January 6th, and it was at that meeting that I officially announced my candidacy and that I was running for Congress, and I picked that day to stand in solidarity with the January 6th protesters a year later. And I mean, they're having their Sixth Amendment rights. They're being disenfranchised of their Sixth Amendment rights and their 14th Amendment rights. And I mean, I stand against it. I mean, we've seen the. I mean, I'll actually tell you guys what I was doing on January 6th. I was at home that day, and and I mean, I knew that something was going to happen on January 6th. Why? Because I actually paid attention in my 8th grade civics class, and I knew that January 6th was the day in which the electoral ballots were counted. All right, there wasn't a plan. All right, everybody who actually pays attention knows January 6th is an important day for an election. Okay, it's very simple. Anyways, So I was watching. I had it on my TV. I was watching on YouTube on my TV, and I was flipping between two different channels on my TV, and I also had my my iPhone up, and I was watching another channel on YouTube. So I had three different points of view, and I watched these protesters. I watched them walk in between the velvet ropes. I mean, I watched the police wave them in. You know, I saw a couple bad actors that you know were breaking windows with like bricks and stuff, but you know those people were tackled by other patriots. So I watched the whole thing go down on three different points of view. And let me tell you something. That so-called insurrection was a hell of a lot more peaceful than all the so-called peaceful protests that happened all throughout 2020. You know, so it's all a bunch of crap. You know, it's pretty much and you know, and the Nazis used a similar tactic, which the left did, which there's actually a whole history in which the left actually are the Nazis. They're all connected. I may get into that later. But anyways, long story short, there's a thought that when the Nazis, shortly after the Nazis came into power in 1933 in Germany, their political building where they would meet up at for their political stuff was burned. And what they did was they used the burning of the Reichstag as the cue to say, okay, well, now we have dangerous state actors who are against the elected party. And again, Hitler was elected as Chancellor of Germany, and then he took more power after that, but he was democratically elected, right? But they used the burning of the Reichstag as an excuse to go after political prisoners. And that's when they unleashed the brown shirts and they went after people, right? And this is a 21st century Reichstag burning. And that's what they're using to justify the persecution of political prisoners. So, I mean, we've all seen it before, folks. Just saying, you know, same stuff, just a different century.
Exactly. Very, very well said and very well put. All right. We have our last question from that guy again. And after that, Mike, we'll just ask that you give us a good closing, where we can follow you, where we can find you, where we can support you, and all that information. So, all right, that guy, go ahead and ask your question.
Just wanted to say thank you all for letting me come on for the third time. You guys cannot get me to shut up, can you?
You're good.
So I wanted to ask your opinion on a few people that I've heard are kind of not just people have different, you know, opinions on these people. The first person is Elon Musk. What's your thoughts on Elon, and what do you think he's holds in the cards?
You know, I'm half and half with Elon because I like the guy, but again, like I said, I'm half and half. So I like the fact that that he does his fair share of trolling himself, and you know he keeps the dam filled with lefty tears. You know, I do appreciate that aspect of him a lot. And you know, he's a smart, savvy guy. I mean, most people don't know this, but the reason why he has so much money and he was able to buy Tesla was because he actually created PayPal. He was the guy who created PayPal, and then he sold it for $200 million to someone else, and then that's how he got his money to buy Tesla and do all this other stuff. So he's quite an entrepreneur, and he's a creator. And what was interesting about Twitter was I was watching a video by, I think it was Liberal Hive Mind, who great guy, by the way, on YouTube, gives out good info. But Liberal Hive Mind was saying that the reason why he didn't take the Twitter board was because he didn't join the board of directors or whatever, is because he would be capped out at only owning 14.5% of the stock. And so what Liberal Hive Mind theorizes, and I think he's correct, is the reason why Elon declined that was because he might do a hostile takeover in which he already has 9.2% of Twitter, so he'll buy up to 51% of Twitter, and then he will make it a hostile takeover, and then he can truly make it a free speech platform, because then he would de facto own the company. So I like the fact that Twitter may actually end up being a free speech platform because he owns it. However, I've also been hearing that he's taken money from China, like Mitch McConnell, Senate Minority Leader, and some of these other people we have in in Congress, and so that also has me concerned as well. So I like what he's doing, but I'm not too keen on some of this money that he's getting from people. I think that's the best way to answer that question.
That kind of leads me off perfectly with my next person was Hunter Biden. It's very interesting. I mean, I know you're not going to be all, he's the best guy in the world, but it's very interesting. He only has in his net worth a little over $1 million. Where is his money coming from and where is it going? Because he's received over 8 million and it's not showing up anywhere. I'm trying to figure out where exactly it's going. It comes in. What has he used his money on? And it's definitely not coming. We all know from his finger painting.
Yeah, I was just about to say he did do his little art show in which he got tons of money for something in which he could just pour a bunch of paint in his mouth and spit it out, and sell it for a couple million. So, yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, I think it was Senator Johnson from Wisconsin recently who had it on the House. It was him and another senator or a congressman, I believe, who were on the floor of the Senate, and they were saying how they found that there was $100,000 directly from the CCP of China that was funneled to Hunter. And then I think not long after that, they found like a couple million or so from a proxy communist China company that was also going into him. So, I mean, he's getting money from China. He's getting money through these Ukraine energy companies, and God knows where. Maybe it's Soros money that's coming to these Ukraine companies that are coming into him. I don't know, but yeah, and that makes me think, because people have been screaming for years for Trump's tax return, right? They've been screaming for this, and they've tried legally getting it, and they've illegally gotten it. I think Rachel Maddow got like of MSNBC. She got like his 2015 tax records or something like that, right? And they cannot find anything on Donald Trump, right? Legally and illegally, they went after him. They couldn't find anything, right? I want to see the tax history of these congressmen and these senators in office. That's what I want to see. How congressmen and senators make $175,000 a year? So how is it that they can serve for 8 years? So 8 years is what? A little over $1 million, and then they're walking out with 8 million, like they're as rich as Hunter Biden. What's going on there? I want to see their tax returns. I don't care about Trump's tax returns. I want to see their tax returns. I want to see Hunter Biden's tax returns. I think that's what we need to focus on.
Yep. Nancy Pelosi and Dan Crenshaw, two of the top ones.
And and then Burr of North Carolina, who was also caught doing insider trading, which is why he's been censored by the North Carolina GOP. Yeah, all this insider trading and stuff too. Yeah,
has to go. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Go ahead and just tell us where we can find you, where we can support you, and what's the best place to help out if we can.
Yeah. So if you scroll up in the voice chat, I did put some stuff down. I put down my. Hold on. It was. Where is it? Yeah, it was around 9:51 p.m. I put down my Gab. I put down my Twitter. I put down my Facebook. I put down my Ballotpedia. Honestly, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, voice chat text. Excuse me. So so in terms of like the finances, I'm fine. I'm pretty much paying for my campaign out of my own pocket because I do not want to be indebted to any big lobbyist groups or any big corporations. So I'm paying out of pocket. I've saved money. I'm fiscally responsible in my personal life, and I'm looking to bring that into Congress. I don't want to be indebted to anyone, so that's why I'm doing that. And obviously, it's a lot more reliable too. Just relying on myself. So I'm good financially. But if you guys could be like what General Flynn said, in which digital warriors, we need digital warriors to get out there, spread memes, spread messages, spread names. Just get out there, and if you guys could just spread my name everywhere. That would be tremendously helpful because I really need votes to get elected because we don't live in a communist country, at least not yet, in which they pick whoever's going to be in power, right? We got votes that determine who's going to be elected legitimately. And, so I just need help getting my name out there because even though Hudson, the incumbent I'm running against, is unstable because he only has a third of the same counties that voted for him, he's still the incumbent and he has a massive war chest compared to me, running as a grassroots candidate and a non-politician for the very first time. So I just need help for people to know that I actually exist. And and then I can actually put down here in the voice chat. Hold on, I will put down the voice chat all the counties that I am in as well. Hold on a second.
You need some door knockers for that type of stuff, or
Yeah, door knockers would be good.
Okay.
Hold on, let's see. District 9
Phone bankers.
consists the counties. Okay, yeah, so it's Randolph counties, Chatham, Lee, Moore, Hoke, Scotland, East Richmond, West Cumberland, Northwest Cumberland, and Southwest Harnett. Southwest, hold on. Chatham, Lee, Moore, Scotland, East, yeah. All right, so I put all those out. So those are all the districts that
very nice.
the 9 districts that I have, and but I guess to close up shop, I was endorsed by the number one endorsement, of course, I would have loved to have would have been endorsement from President Trump, right? But if I were to choose any other endorsement, it would be the one that I have, in which I put that in the text chat as well, which was for the North Carolina grassroots government. Their mission is to empower and support public servants who will uphold the Constitution, adhere to the biblical principles upon which it is founded, and faithfully execute the clearly defined duties of their office on behalf of the citizens of North Carolina. I'm pro-God, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-First and Second Amendments. I support strong borders, election integrity, legal immigration, and energy independence, and I'm anti-CRT, and I'm against medical tyranny. I come from a long history of service, both this nation and this people, and I really want to continue it as a House rep. Mine is an Army family. I was 4th generation Army. My grandfather fought godless communists in Korea and Vietnam, and through votes and support, I seek to pick up where he left off at, which was fighting commies. I love fighting commies. It's fun. Watch them cry is even more fun. I want to defend and advance liberty by fighting woke socialism and communist agendas right here at home. I was a U.S. Army paratrooper, so I jumped out of planes and helicopters for a living, so not much really concerns me or really frightens me. So my father did that too. He served as a company commander in the legendary 82nd Airborne Division that dropped into Normandy, and I served as a company commander in Special Operations Command at Fort Bragg. I served for nearly a decade, 8 years, and I was deployed twice to the Middle East in support of Operations Enduring Freedom, Inherent Resolve, and Spartan Shield. And I was one of the 3,943 Army soldiers who requested a religious accommodation, which was denied to me. And I told them, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to go run for Congress, and I'm going to go represent my constituents who also had to choose between their livelihoods and their faith in D.C. You thought you heard the last of me, but I'm going to be yelling at you guys in the halls of Congress. So you thought you got rid of me, but you didn't. And but of course, I can't do that unless I'm voted in. But when you hear others say that they will not compromise themselves in Washington, that they won't bend the knee, that's really just talk, guys. In life, there are people who will say whatever they have to get what they want. I take more stock in action, and I proved that by sacrificing the career I wanted since being 8 years old. That I patiently waited for 15 years to begin. 15 years I waited to start my career. To stand my ground in my beliefs and in my convictions. I gave that all up because of my faith to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I only bend my knee to one entity, Almighty God, because God is greater than government. There's a reason why God is a capital G and government's the lowercase g. As an Army officer, I took a lifelong and solemn oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. I want to continue serving this oath, but cannot do so unless I'm honored with the votes needed to be the House representative for we the people of District 9. So, Thanks everyone for having me. May God bless you. And remember, I like Mike. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Everybody have a good night. Join us over in voice chat if you want to. Take care.